Hello, my little beauties. It's David Connolly here, the web developer extraordinaire. Hello, wee Coco. Today I want to talk about how the PHP jobs market is crashing, and I'm going to give you 4 things that I have identified that I believe are causing the PHP jobs market to crash. At the end of the video, I'll try my very best to give you a few little glimmers of hope. However, all right, wee Coco, come on. I have to be honest, I'm not entirely optimistic, and I apologize in advance if this video seems like doom and gloom. But you know what? We've always been honest about things here, so we might as well continue with that, okay? So, are you ready? I mean, hope you're sitting down. This is going to be a bit grim. Now, I have some notes here just as a rough guide because I want to make sure that I've got this right, okay? Come on up, wee Coco. So, to give you an idea of the state of play as I'm seeing it, the PHP jobs market has crashed, not only in terms of the number of jobs, but also the salaries being paid. For example, in 2012, it was very normal to see PHP developer salaries coming in at 65k per year. That's pounds sterling. So 65k per year, 2012. Today, the same jobs are going for 30k per year. Same jobs, same region. I have the data. Ask me in the comments if you would like me to tell you how I got this data. Now, if that's not bad enough, the marketplace has been so bad lately that, on a personal note, I've now closed my LinkedIn account. I'm no longer on LinkedIn. If you see anybody who looks like me, I can assure you it's not me. I've just given up because, as far as I can tell, the market is really that bad. So this is a very serious situation, folks. Now, just quickly glance at my notes. So I'm going to give you the 4 reasons why this is happening, and I'll give you the 4 in advance, and you can stop listening if you're in a hurry, okay? So in advance, the 4 things that I believe, the sort of perfect storm that's coming together here, are issues with the PHP language itself, or more accurately, the management of PHP. That's the first issue. Secondly, AI, the rise of AI. You knew that that was coming up. Fourthly, the rise of middle management, particularly agile, which has been devastating, especially for salaries. And finally, the rise of the professional content management system providers such as Wix, Squarespace, Webflow, and others. These are the 4 things that, by my estimation, are killing the PHP jobs market. You can stop listening if you want, because the rest of this video is going to be me just elaborating on those, okay? So let's start with the first one, the language itself. Now, just a few years ago, PHP was competing against Python. The two of them were sort of like I guess you could say, the Ferrari and the Lamborghini of back-end web development technologies, server-side technologies. Today, there's not too many people speaking in those terms. Python is flying. It's being taught in most major universities. It's being absolutely not only embraced by AI, but it's the dominating language. Same goes for the scientific community. Everybody's loving Python, and recently Python, or at least the Python community, addressed some of the performance issues that they had. And in short, Python has gone and done a BMW. I should explain that. I used to work in the motor trade building IT systems, and I had access to the sales figures for Mercedes-Benz and BMW. This was actually privileged information, you know. For a long time, BMW and Mercedes were neck and neck in terms of sales, more or less. But then Mercedes brought out the A-Class, which was a tiny little bubble car. and it really damaged their brand. And I actually had access to the sales figures. BMW just blew Mercedes out of the water after that happened. Apologies if there's cat hairs floating around. It's just Coco here. We're both huddled over a little heater. Yeah, so overnight, BMWs were selling at twice the rate of Mercedes-Benz cars. It was staggering. And that type of thing is what I'm seeing with PHP and Python. Python has really got its act together and PHP hasn't. Whereas Python has focused on stability and innovation, PHP has focused on management by committee and rewrite culture. Now, I'm not going to go into that again because I've already spent many hours babbling on about that and everybody's sick of it. But when you have a language such as PHP that is being funded now by entities who stand to gain financially when the language breaks, well, nobody should be surprised when they go to a conference and somebody's angrily telling everybody you need to upgrade. PHP, very sadly, has started to become a bit like Node.js, which last time I checked is on version 22. And I know for a fact business owners hate this type of thing. They don't want to spend $250,000 on an intranet only to be told it's all broken because it's been changed. Python, on the other hand, did not do this. Same can be said for Golang. These are languages that are now flying high, and PHP is just going down the toilet. So the management of the language itself has been a huge problem, and it has caused PHP to become less desirable. Now, the next thing on the list, and I'm going in order of increasing heaviness, the next is AI. It's funny, you know, some people talk about AI as if it's this thing coming over the horizon and in a few years' time we could lose jobs. I can confirm that last year I lost 2 gigs to AI. These were not vague prospects. These were clients of mine who in both instances had members of staff who had come up with this great idea. Why don't we just use ChatGPT instead of hiring somebody? So that happened to me twice last year. I'm not able to put a number on how much I've lost, but it would have been in the tens of thousands. So you are listening to a guy who has already lost out because of AI. It's a very, very heavy thing, and AI is only going to get better. It's astonishing to think that AI has only really been around for just over a year. Can you imagine what it will be like in 3 years' time or 5 years' time? I tell you what, to those students who are currently starting out on computer science degrees, I really worry because they're going to emerge in 4 or 5 years' time to a marketplace that is nothing like what we've got today. So I see AI as a huge problem. It's only going to get worse. The next one is one that I've spoken about extensively on this channel, and that is middle management. In particular, speaking about the rise of things like Agile and DevOps. Now, I have been more vocal about this topic probably than anyone on the web. I've already published videos and I've gone into detail. I've told you where they stole their material from. I've told you how they solved a problem that does not exist. They gave it a name and they called it Waterfall. And that material is all out there, and I stand by the whole thing. Unfortunately, few people listened. So now, the vast majority of PHP developer jobs are looking for some type of agile experience. If not, then some kind of DevOps experience. What that means is that PHP developers, instead of having good salaries and responsibility, now have low salaries because the larger salaries are going to the agile managers. The agile managers are hiring low-paid developers. I'm not going to say unskilled, but instead of business owners, let's say, hiring 1 or 2 developers for a great salary. Instead, they'll now hire an agile manager and then maybe 3 developers on a low salary. And the developers are being put into jobs where they don't have much responsibility and they're very expendable. So the value of developers is going through the floor. This is why the salaries are so low. Any of you who are unfortunate enough to have worked in a DevOps environment, you will know what it feels like to work in a place where you literally cannot change a comma on a web application without going through some ridiculous middle management process. Unfortunately, Agile has become huge. I tried very hard to warn you all, and as a result, developer salaries are now through the floor. Now, the next thing, which is the last of the 4 horsemen of the PHP apocalypse, is the one that I think is the biggest threat of all, and that is professional content management systems. So I'm talking about things like Squarespace, Wix, Webflow. There's lots and lots of them. And they are getting really, really good at marketing. Some of you may have even had an advert for one of those platforms when you came to this video. I get them everywhere. Even in the street, I'm seeing adverts to go with these types of platforms. And what's interesting, there has been a shift because originally they were only going after brochure sites. Then they went after online shops, but now they're going after CRMs. I'm sure you've seen the adverts. What does CRMs mean? That means the systems such as, say, systems for call centers, intranets, any type of large-scale web application, any type of custom web application for business. Well, now we have an army of these commercial CMS providers who are now going into that market. And they, by the way, are better at selling than you. They are better at marketing than you. And frankly, you've got no chance. I mean, I hate to lay it on you, but how are you going to compete against organizations who've got celebrity endorsement, who have got a budget of millions? It's just really, really, really difficult. Now, I'll give you my predictions for the future. I hope I haven't depressed you all too much. Here's my predictions of the future. Most of you will disagree. I know that you disagree. You're allowed to disagree. Let me know. We don't have to fall out, okay? But my own predictions are, I think that it's going to be increasingly difficult to get any kind of a living as a commercial web developer, especially a PHP developer. If you are over the age of, I would say, 34 years old, it's now mission impossible. Now, I'm not an ageist, that's for sure. It was my 48th birthday yesterday, and who cares? But for those of us who are over that sort of age threshold, it's going to be really, really difficult. I feel so bad, actually, because I know what you're up against. Now, I reckon we've got about 3 years until the marketplace becomes completely unviable. I'm sure that there will be gigs for, wide-eyed, kind of wet behind the ears graduates who are 22 years old and have learned C# or something. They'll probably do okay, but the PHP market, as we know it, I think is going to be dead in about 3 years' time. I hope I'm wrong, but that's my prediction. Maybe I should do a whole video on that, should I? Now, to be a little bit more detailed, my predictions are a little bit of good news. I think that all of the agile middle management stuff is going to be found out. I think all of that stuff was just being driven by hot air. And I think that every day there's going to be another new business owner who says, hang on a minute, I've had this agile team building an intranet for the past 2 years and they haven't produced anything. Are we really getting good value here? And I've already noticed a few people who are saying that I was right, and even ones who don't mention me, but they're starting to say, is this really the way to go? And I think that there's a sort of emergence of a different type of developer happening. Let's call them purist developers who don't capitulate to middle management garbage, who don't believe in third party interdependency, and who above all value stability. I think that that could happen. Now, back to the state of the marketplace. I think that agile is going to get found out. I think that the business owners are going to just say, we've had enough of this, and they're not going to touch agile with a barge pole. That day is coming, by the way. And I look forward to all of the congratulations as everybody tells me that I was right. The bad news is when the business owners move away from things like agile, I think that a lot of them are going to move towards the likes of Wix and Squarespace and all of that crowd, who will, welcome them with open arms. So unfortunately, it's yet more devastation. You can see me checking my notes here. Pretty depressing video, right? Pretty depressing video. I know it is, but I'm just being honest, and that's how I see things. Is there a glimmer of hope? Maybe, but not right now. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you later.